Habits is very important. Why? Because you rise and you fall on habits. So you can position yourself to achieve financial greatness. You can position yourself to become a leader in business. All it requires is you having the right habits that can help you navigate the terrains of life. Today, we're going to be doing a deep dive into habits. For example, we will talk about habits and self awareness, habits and self confidence, habits and self application. But then we will escalate the conversation and then begin to look at habits and wealth. So, when it comes to wealth creation, there are four important money habits that you need to learn, apply, and master. And I want to say this to you: once time permits, we will go deep into these talking points to ensure that you understand how to apply the right habits to your life to position yourself for personal and financial greatness. Now, I have a dynamic team who will be helping me in this conversation. I have an economist who is Clement Frank, and he is also a leader by certification. So, of course, he is going to be helping us to understand habits from a leadership perspective and perhaps some of the practical things and tools that you should adopt into your life when you want to position yourself for greatness in business or in life. Next, I have Peter Goose Scott, and Peter Scott, he is an expert in his own right, and he's the brain behind Legacy Chronicle Human Growth Program. And he will also talk to you about your personal life master plan, your family life master plan, your community life master plan, and your corporate life master plan. So there's a lot of master plan in here, and this is your life. And if you don't have a master plan for your life, believe me, you ain't ready to start living this life. So welcome, guys. Great to have you all here today. How are you guys? How are things at your neck of the woods?
Fantastic, fantastic. Yeah,
I'm
can't
so glad
complain.
to hear that. All right. I'm gonna get the ball rolling by talking a bit about financial instruments, and then we're gonna come into the topic. So, if you're a rising star in business and you operate in the US area, meaning in 50 states, and you need access to capital, I want to encourage you to reach out to us, and I will be so happy to provide you with the support that you need to access the much needed capital. So, whether you're trying to access debt, equity, credit, creative financing, or hard money lending, guess what? We can set you up with the critical stakeholders to make that process as smooth as possible. All right, so I just want to put that out there so our listening audience can at least have some immediate takeaway for being here today. Along with this, I want to encourage you to like, subscribe, and share so you will be helping us to meet more people and more people can benefit from this platform. Again, I want to thank over 25,000 new subscribers that we have attracted over the last 30 days. I want to say a big thank you to you guys. You have been kind to us, and we appreciate that. And believe me, we have a lot of goodies, giveaways for you coming out. So continue to like, subscribe, and share, and make some comments. So once we have in a conversation and you like the conversation, drop us in a chat. Say something to us, and that can set you up to get a free consultation. Now, getting back to today's conversation, I want to begin by saying you can be great. All right. You can be great. It doesn't matter where you are in your life right now, it doesn't matter where you came from. I want to say this to you: you can be great. It just requires you to adopt the right habits. So, I want to talk about some habits that I want you to start focusing on. I want you to look at habits and self awareness. What time and talent and resources are you putting into understanding your true self, your essence? Now, I want to say this: the traditional establishment is not really set up in such a way to really help you to master who you are. All right. And I say this from the standpoint that when we look at the self, there's a concept that we call the self image theory. The self image theory really walks you through four self, one that we call the ideal self, the looking glass self, the self image. In most cases, you're flowing from either one of those, the ideal self, the looking glass self, and the self image. But what about the real self? What we are talking about here is you knowing and mastering the real self. All right. I know that time will not permit me to do that deep dive, that clinical analysis of what the real self is. But I'm saying to you, when you want to position yourself for greatness, you need to spend some time focusing on this. Now, the reality is this, and research has shown that the average person, if even you attempt, all right, to do this on your own, your learning curve is going to be long. So, my advice to you to fast track your process here is to get a mentor. Work with someone who has already mastered themselves, mastered their craft. Get a coach, get a supportive community, and get sponsors. All right. Because those are things that will help you to learn, apply, and master essential habits that will give you super control, super mastery over yourself, self awareness. So, we're going to go into money matters just now, but I want to say this: if you don't fix you, everything else is going to be unbalanced. The equilibrium would not be right. So, I just want to put that out there for now. I want to come across to my colleague, Frank, who is an economist and a certified leader professional, to chime in on this concept of habits. All to you, my friend.
Thanks, Gary. Welcome, Peter. And for all those who are listening, top of the morning to you. What sets a great leader apart from the others? How can you know in a room of leaders which one is the best? Great leaders are fanatically consistent with a few strategic habits. And every once in a while, even though the room is full of experience and successful people, you will meet a leader who stands out. And you can know in an instant that they act, think, and guide differently than any other leader. Great leaders are not born, they are created. But you see, those individuals did not become great leaders overnight.
Mhm.
And although some were born with certain, we call aptitudes to be it, the reality is that they are formed through training, experience, and habit. Your habits create who you are, or better yet, the habits you have today will shape who you become tomorrow. The best leaders are not always the smartest, the hardest working, or the best connected, but the best leaders intentionally commit to strategic habits that produce desired results. As I said, some leaders were not born are not born, but they're created, and that they're formed through training, experience, and also a healthy dose of introspection that will make them think quickly and make correct decisions. So 4 habits that I can leave with you this morning that great leaders have in common. The first one is a habit of start early. And if you can start early, start strong. You see, how you wake up matters. Do you, like me, wake up without an alarm? Or do you wake up on the first alarm? Or do you snooze multiple times before getting up? I know the feeling. You have to become the person who decides you will not hit the snooze button to delay your morning opportunities. 3 years ago, I decided to start a habit of waking up at 4 and exercise early in the morning. So I'm starting with hearing the early morning birds. Take a little time for devotion. Be quiet and then center myself. And then, start into exercises. And I do it out in the cold here because I want to blast and the shock of the breeze blowing. It's like a therapy for my body because it releases chemicals and stimulate my natural defense system. But when I look back at the last 3 years, I can see the small decisions it took to get where I am today. Yeah, there were some days I missed the practice because of probably illness or so on, but I've allowed that to form a habit. The other thing is the habit of pre-deciding. To pre-decide on key items that need to be completed each day. Anytime you can make a decision ahead of time, make the decision. Anytime you can automate a decision, do it. Ideas are great, but implementation is everything. Great leaders measure, they evaluate, and they decide almost immediately because decision and actions gives them confidence, gives them momentum. So bad decisions are better than no decision at all. Errors can almost always be corrected. Then there's a habit of doing the hard right. Be willing to make the hard right choices rather than taking the easy path. It means that you do not delay. Do not put off the difficult decisions you're responsible for. In your leadership, you're always going to face challenges. You're going to face obstacles. And when you face these challenges, when you face these obstacles, you often have 2 options: the easy wrong or the hard right choice. And you will always be tempted to take the easy way out. Let me tell you, don't. Many leaders ask, what's easy? The best leaders ask, what's right? Many leaders avoid the hard right because it will make a difficult situation even more difficult in the short term. The habit of caring for people and being empathetic. It was Simon Sinek who taught that leaders who get the most out of their people are those who care most about their people. Because it really matters you actually care about people. And truly great leaders demonstrate a deep passion and enthusiasm for their work and for leading others. As it turns out, people become much more engaged in their jobs when they have an enthusiastic leader to follow. And that care has to start in your heart before your team feel it in the office. And great leaders welcome different points of view and challenging questions. So mastering approachability requires becoming a listener to and soundboard for the thoughts and ideas of others, and then taking action. So the best leaders have a clear vision of where they're headed and what it will take to get there. An inspiring vision of the future is contagious because it gives employees a sense of their place within an organization's greater purpose. Mastering a sense of purpose is easy if you understand how you fit in. So the potential of your leadership is a reflection of the quality of your habits. If you want to have a bigger impact, develop better habits.
That was great. You've said a whole lot, Frank. And you said something, leadership and hard work. And it just set off, an aha moment for me to respond. And but let me disregard that. I want to say this. There's a concept that we call experiential learning, and I wish that everyone in the classroom and in life can really go through a period of experiential learning. And why am I saying this? Because when you build habits around getting experience, there's something that happens with experience that doesn't take place in the classroom. You see, you could be in the classroom, which is a good habit because you're exposing yourself to knowledge and information. But knowledge, information that is not applied is not experiential. And when you would have done something and experienced the results of doing that thing, and the results is good, that is a type of learning that really helps significantly to fast track your learning curve. So I want to say this because today we're given some nuggets that can really help you to master your craft. So let us take, for example, you are a student of debt mitigation, or you are a student of the SCP, Sales Communication Professional. You want to work as hard as possible on the theory, but you want to work even harder on the practical because it's a practical combined with a theory, most of the practical that is going to make you become the subject matter expert that you are. You don't want to be a subject matter expert on the theory. The practice is really what make it a man. So I'm going to pause here just a little bit, and I'm going to open up to Peter, and then I will come back to talk about the three areas that I start to look at, which is habits and self-awareness, habits and self-confidence, and habits and self-application. Peter, all to you.
Yeah, Garrett, it's always a delight to be on this program, and I want to say thank you for putting this together because there's so much that is needed in the marketplace right now in the world. Individuals, searching for information that can transform their lives, build their lives, and as you mentioned, to expedite or to speed up, accelerate the learning curve. And this is one program that I do know that individuals, whenever they come here, there is a wealth of information from so many perspectives that will cause an individual to access, that next space that they want to accomplish moving forward. But as we're talking now about habits, and as a tool by which individuals can fast forward habits, and as it says, yes, that we do rise and fall with habits, because each of us, and the thing about habits is that we do it without realizing it. And in our communication with people that we're working with, where the personal life master plan and individual understanding how to design their personal life master plan, is that we cause individual, we have to question who is the you that you are talking about, because oftentimes we spend so much time in our outer world, looking out into the world, and there's so much that is known about outer space in comparison to what we have, the knowledge we have at inner space. And so we have looked at that as the complexity of human simplicity. And we call it the complexity of human simplicity because it is simple for us to take time to know ourselves, but we make it more difficult than what it is. And we pay more attention at looking outward instead of knowing thyself. And if we do not understand ourselves, then how can we really navigate ourselves through the vast world that we are operating through? If we do not take time out to create, yes, that master plan. And why do we need a master plan for self? We need a master plan for self because self is more than what we see, what we look like. Because individuals tend to look at the mirror, and because they see this one body of representation, of human representation, then they tend to treat themselves as this one body, and they pay attention to what they are aware of. But we do understand that the human person is far greater than just what we see when we look into the mirror. And so now we got to understand now the simplicity of human complexity. It is simple, it is a simple task, because now we have to really understand that we have to do something. There's a simple task that we have to take care of, and that simple task is to tap into the corporate person. When we talk about the corporate person, we're understanding that human beings are more than what we see as we self. There is 9 components. We don't have the time to go into all of those 9 components, but then we can just look at one. We can just tap into what the mind is, and the mind is one of the most complex instruments that we have. And if we begin to take the time to take care of the human mind, but if we say we're going to take care of the human mind, then what is it that we are taking care of? There are now 6 components within the human mind. And so we understand that we do have an emotion. We do understand that we have the power of choice. We have a will. We do understand that we have an imagination. We do understand that we have thoughts. We do understand that we have intelligence. And we do understand the most important of all the 6 components that we have been checking, and oftentimes I'm wondering which one is the most important. What is emotion? And what if I could put one that individuals can work on even today as we're talking about habits, I will encourage individuals out of that, the 6 components of the mind. And I know that is a whole lot, but let me narrow it down to this. If there is one habit that will serve you in impactful ways, if there's one habit, make it a habit of taking care of your memory. Make it a habit of taking care of your memory, because what I do as we do the research, we realize that everything else is dependent on memory. Your emotions, what's your emotions? Just one memory, just one thought, just one piece of information that comes from your past can trigger your emotion and put you in a whole different space. Just a thought about something that happened years ago can cause your emotions to shift. You're talking about your will. You cannot really make a choice, an effective choice, without having memory, because what you're about to do is based upon information that was collected before. Your imagination, your ability to view and to vision and to visualize, it's still based upon information that is stored on your hard drive. And what is thoughts? What are thoughts? Thoughts comes out of the collection of information that we have exposed ourselves to. And thoughts is what we do with the information that is already stored within us. If we talk about intelligence, what is intelligence? Intelligence is based upon stored information. Without stored information, there is no intelligence, because we're all here as a blank slate. and we go through, we matriculate through the various sources or the various institutions of training, schools. And what is that? What they give to us is stored on our in our memory, and we now use memory to form our intelligence. So now we come to memory. And what is memory? Memory is like the hard drive of a computer. It is where all the softwares, everything that we place, that we download, or that we upload, whatever we place on that hard drive, it stays there. And whenever we need any bit of information to compute any bit of anything that needs to be processed, then the memory, it pulls that memory. So your memory, so make it an habit. And if we lose memory, what happens to us? We lose our ability to operate at our most sharpest. Memory, I listen to us even as we speak here, and I listen to Frank as he was just speaking about leadership and habits of a leadership, getting up early and all the things that leaders do. All of that is based upon memory. What leaders do. I listen to Gary as Gary, has a very creative way how he coin words and coins various bits of information for it to sound so beautiful to the ear. And all of that is based upon him taking time to store a body of information in his memory. So the habit that I would like individuals to work on today, let me just say this quickly. My son is 13 years old, and coaching him, he has this love for cars, and he has this big vision of what he wants to do. He wants to revolutionize the auto industry. He loves what Elon Musk has done, and then he says that he's going to do something. Keep talking about that. And I said to him, you can't just keep talking about it. You're 13 years old. Well, go do research. Go do your research. And I see that young man goes into search the internet. He begin to search what is engines, how cars work. He begin to do this in-depth, deep dive study on the auto industry and how engines work. And then that young boy take all this information and he says, Dad, wake me up at this particular moment every morning. And he take that information and he's just walking around the room, repeating the information over and over to himself. Keep on repeating that information. He is taking care of his memory, storing a body of information that will be useful to him in years to come. So if there's one habit that you could do every day, take time out and memorize something, because memory is like a muscle that the more you use it, the more you expand it, the more you pour into it, then guess what? When you open your mouth, people think that you're a genius because it begins to flow. Thank you, Gary. We pass it back to you. You're muted, Gary.
Yeah, memory is a muscle. Protect it.
Protect.
Tread it. Keep it well. That was a great share. Great share. And I must say kudos to you. You must be working on the young ones to ensure that they get the right information. And that's what we call mentorship and coaching, a supportive community as sponsor. I can see you're doing all of that there. And on these platforms, we definitely try to do that. But let me say a couple of things. I want to go into a little deeper into habits and self-confidence. One of the things that we have seen is that self-awareness is not a standalone skill set. All right. Because what we see is that you may be self-aware, you're fully aware of your potential to achieve greatness, and you're flowing from the real self. But guess what? The real self is not properly socialized to two essential concepts that we call, one, self-confidence and self-application. And it doesn't make sense to be self-aware of your potential to achieve greatness. But guess what? You don't have the confidence in yourself to take action. And again, you're not taking action to make things become real. Now, taking action, and I want to, uh, make a comparative analysis. When we look at a movie, you see the antagonist and you see the protagonist. What does the protagonist always do? He's either taking action, natural action, or he's reacting to a situation. He becomes a hero because of the experiences that he's going through. But this is your life. And I want to say to you that you have been through so much of experiences in your life. But are you taking those experiences and using those experiences like a springboard, like in the movies, the James Bond movies? All right. Are you using those experiences as a springboard to become the hero and the star of your life? I want to say this. Very often we see people with tremendous potential to achieve greatness. And I say people because in our context, we genuinely believe that every single human being under the sun, under the star, on the sky, you have the ability to achieve greatness, regardless of where you came from and regardless of where you're at. You have this ability to achieve greatness. Now, you might have never heard this before, but I'm not the first person to be saying this. If I have a strong Christian belief, and some of the things that the great book says is that if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, that's all you need to have. You can move mountains. All right. And I do believe that when you really understand the context that this concept could be expanded into and you apply it to your life, you start to recognize that when you have the wrong habits, when you have the wrong socialization to life, it holds you back. And I want to be candid here to say this, and I want to be placed on record by saying this. The majority of the people in the world, you're given wrong socialization. The socialization is not a socialization that is helping you to self-actualize. Our focus with what we are doing is really to get you to the point to really recognize that you can self-actualize, because your self-actualization is not just about you. Your self-actualization is going to help the business that you're going to be working for, the business that you're going to be associated with, to go further, faster, and achieve so much more. Because you are not just an average individual who don't have that sense of self, but you are an individual who are flowing in your essence, who are flowing with a deep awareness of your potential to achieve greatness. You're flowing with confidence that I can achieve it, regardless of if you have the support or you don't have that support around you. You have done it well enough. You have enough mentorship, coaching, support, community, a sponsor behind you, so you know that you can do it. And now you're taking action. I want to emphasize this. What we are attempting to do here, I mean, in metaphoric expression, is to really give the average man, people with great vision. Because if you're going to come to us, we want you to have big vision. We can help you in business, and we're going to give you wings to fly. And we're going to be your mentor. We're going to be your support system, your coach. We're going to be a supportive community. We're going to be your sponsor. But don't come to us thinking small. If you're coming to us thinking small, you have to be prepared to expand your way of thinking. All right. And once you come, prepare to be expanded. We're going to give you all the support that you need to achieve your vision in business and in life. Because while we are discussing some soft stuff, it's all about business. And we discuss the soft stuff. Why? Because we have done the research, and what we have seen is that you, the rising star in business, you will never grow beyond your sense of self. So what we're trying to do here now is to fix your sense of self, fix your sense of awareness, fix your self-confidence, and fix your ability to apply yourself. You don't want to be the genius that is locked away. You want to apply yourself so people can really understand your rich potential. I'm going to pause here for now because I can get very emotional when I get into this. And I'm going to pass control over to my colleague, Clement Frank. On to you, my friend.
I you made me think. When I look at leaders today, we find that there are thousands, hundreds of professionals, and that's all across the world, who call themselves leader in their respective business. But the reality is that the vast majority of these people are a leader in title only. Sure, people report to them. They have some authority over others because of seniority or prior performance. But if you ask the question, are they really a leader to anyone on their team? But before we go any further, it is important to level set on how a leader is defined. Someone whose actions inspire, empower, and serve others to produce an improved state over an extended period of time. So there are many reasons why people never get to this kind of impact on others. And a few reasons would include we are taught management, not leadership in school. We have a shortage of real leaders in organizations. So people don't have a close role model. Performance reviews rarely focus on the development of direct reports. And all of these are completely fair and acceptable reasons why people never become leaders, but there is one that stands above the rest. Being a leader is hard work. It requires a level of self-discipline and commitment to others that most people aren't willing to have. And if you want to be different and rise above the average, I think give a few of these ideas to try. One, think of the needs of others before you're on. What do you do when you look at the picture for the first time with you in it? And most likely, you look at yourself because of your human nature. And this means in order to be a real leader, you have to combat your human nature of thinking about yourself and proactively think about others. You have to set high standards and hold people accountable to them. The best leaders rely on standards as a way to elevate the performance of their team. A standard is simply defining what good looks like. Once standards have been cleared, defined, communicated, then it's your job as a leader to hold people accountable to meeting and hopefully exceeding them on a regular basis. You need to devote time every day to the development of leadership skills. Because leadership is a journey, not a destination, which means you can be improving your leadership skills or they can be getting worse. Invest in the development of your skills by attending conferences, by reading books, listening to podcasts, or writing down lessons learned throughout daily interactions at work. You admit you don't know all the answers. No one likes a professional who thinks they know it all. There's simply too much information and too many balls in the air for one person to solve every problem. Humble yourself. Be vulnerable to others by admitting, I don't know it all, and I need your help. Come up with a mantra that motivates and inspires others. The best leaders understand the power of words. They can motivate, inspire, and capture the hearts of the people. In the Welder Leader program, we call a collection of words that do this a maximizing mantra. And every leader, regardless of what kind of a company they are in, should leverage a maximizing mantra. Some of my favorites will include row the boat, take that aim, let's go, move the needle, and sacrifice is rewarded. Thanks, Greg.
Well, that was great. And while you took it out of the leadership text, I want to say that that is the leadership text that is also should be an essential part of this. So I can take everything that you have just said and I can equate it to business because it's so important what you've just said. I think one of the first thing that you spoke about is think about people's need. And one might want to think is just a leadership habits to have. But I want to say this: the people that think about people, the leaders that think about people, the rising star in business that thinks about people, are the people, the business leaders that are more successful. And let me say why. I can equate this to thinking about people means that you're data driven. Thinking about people means that you take the time to understand people, their needs and their wants, their expectations. You understand their pain point. And when you think about people in this context, guess what? It allows you to innovate products and services that are aligned to their specific needs. So it's an essential habit for you to have when it comes to thinking about people. All I'm doing, I'm going deeper, a little deeper into what Frank would have said, because he's 101% correct with this. All right. There are many rising stars. As you do the things that you do, your key focus is self-aggrandizement. It's about what you want to accomplish, and it's not about the man's next to me, needs, wants, and expectations. Well, if that is your mindset, I want to say this: your mindset is what's keeping you where you are. If even you use this mindset and it push you forward a little bit, it's not going to be able to sustain you because it's not a healthy mindset. Now, I just wanted to say that a little bit based on what Frank would have said. I want to, there's so many other points that you would have talked about. But when I come back, I will come to Peter now. But when I come back, I want to talk about you can be wealthy. The right habits, you can be wealthy. And I will talk to you about 4 money habits that you need to learn, apply, and master when you want to position yourself for financial greatness. And I want to say this: we're not just here saying these things to you because we want to say these things to you, but we have an institution fully set up that is able to give you the support along the line of everything that we're talking about. All right. So if you want to start a business, you need access to capital. We're going to help you with that. You want to start a business, you need access to market. We're going to help you with that. You need leadership training for your team. We're going to help you with that. You want to have a master plan that not only affects the organization, but you know, in one way, but multiple ways. We can help you with that. So this is not just a talk show. We have built system that can help you along all of the talking points that we are discussing here today. Peter, all to you.
Yeah, Gary, and just to follow up on what Frank was saying a while ago about identifying leaders and how much a lot of what is being taught in school is really management systems that is, and management and very closely related. We need both. What we do, we find that leadership is something that is a little bit elusive. And so, sometimes the lines become blurred. And sometimes when individuals are talking about leadership, they're not really talking about leadership. They're actually talking about management, because leadership has to do with the essence of, putting oneself before somebody else. Leadership has to do with going in front. Leadership has to do with becoming that person that take responsibility for whatever is in their hand, responsibility and taking
Yeah, yeah, Peter. Leadership is being the protagonist of your life, the
that
superstar of your life. Go ahead, on to you.
that goes now into you got to talk about stuff like courage. And when you talk about courage, those kinds of thoughts and concepts, there's a myriad of concepts that has to be tapped into for us to really come to leadership. And a lot of these concepts that has to be addressed, we were talking about leadership. Our current world doesn't really celebrate you when you begin to tap into these concepts that we're talking about. So how do we but we have to deal with it, and where do we start? And I can't go out there and beat my chest and say that I'm the leader. That's not the way how it works. That's not the way it works. Every individual is a leader in his or her own right. And leadership starts from the same, or the lack of leadership starts, from the same thing that I mentioned, that we have made the thing complex than what it is. So we have made simple things to be very complex, where we enter into the complexity of human simplicity. Things that ought to be quite, straightforward, we make it more than what it is, and things that we ought to pay attention to, we don't. So leadership starts really with self, because I really can't lead anybody. But one thing that I am positive and sure that we can lead, and I can lead, is me and myself. And the concept of leading self is to understand, first of all, that yes, we're a corporate entity. As I mentioned, there is about 9 components that makes up the human person. There is 9 elements, and we have to go before that, those 9 elements. We first have to discover what they are, and I go before myself. I first understand that I am a body. Yes, I'm looking at the body, but within that body is a soul, and in the depth of that soul is a human spirit. And when we begin to understand that, and we begin to take care of that, and we make a habit, we form habits of every day. How do I actually become, as you mentioned so many times, self-actualize? How do I become who I am supposed to be? And to make that decision in the first place of who I am supposed to be. And then Frank also mentioning about that mantra, having that set of information, that draft, and in our world, they're crafting that master plan, where you come to a consensus. You, yourself, and I, me, myself, and I come to a consensus to determine who I am. And every day I am focused on becoming that person who we have, me, myself, and I, have determined based upon when we look at what are the demands, and what I am sent to do where life is concerned, about how do I serve humanity the best way I can. And we're not looking at what others are doing and how they are performing, but we're looking at our own performance in leading self. And when we talk about self-mastery, and we talk about holding self accountable, all of these these concepts that we're talking about, it always is going to come back to us making that focus on how do I master my mind? How do I master my health? How do I master all the components of what I am, and bring these into discipline? When you talk about self-discipline, how do I make a habit of disciplining who I am? So, when we break it down to those elements, and in order for us to be be that effective tool or that effective instrument that somebody now can depend on. Somebody now can see us operating at our optimized level. Then now somebody can trust that, you know what, you are doing such a great job at leading yourself, at making yourself who you are becoming. I think I can learn something from you. And that is now how the outer leadership now begin to form, when individuals seeing that you are going somewhere, and I would like to follow some of those principles that you have gained, that is advancing your life. Now you begin to have individuals now becoming a part of where you are going. And every individual is going somewhere. All of us can have that impact to lead somebody else based upon the sets of principles that we have organized, and actually use those sets of principles to show others how we have accomplished. And in some ways, so much for what you find is that those circles now begin to go out, and we're able to impact a community.
All right. Well said, Peter. I want to make this statement about leadership because I'm in the habit of redefining certain realities of life. Realities of life may be different from the facts of life. I'm going to get into all of that later on. But I want to say this in terms of leadership. Leaders is being on a path of self-actualization. Let me put it this way. Leadership is being on the path of self-actualization and creating the environment for others to realize the same. And let me break this down. If you are a leader and in an organization or in life, and you are not on a path to take that micro into macro and into a global brand, you're not set to self-actualize. And I think that we want to hold our leaders to this standard. Why? Because it is really providing that environment that says to humanity, you have the potential to self-actualize, and the new social norm should be everything about the path that you're on to self-actualize. And as you self-actualize, meaning reaching your full potential, it's about you now looking back and saying, let me create an environment where everyone around me can feel as though they are self-actualizing. It's similar to what Frank was saying, but I put it different because I want to escalate it now. If you're as a leader, you're not thinking about self-actualization, there's work that has to be done. If you're a leader that are not thinking about the self-actualization or those around you reaching their full potential, there are habits that you also need to relearn. There's habits that you need to reapply. There may be new habits that you need to learn. And for us, this is one of the reasons why we have developed the thesis that we call blanket workplace self-actualization. Because what I'm talking about is relevant to the organization. A self-actualized workforce is more productive. A more productive organization is more profitable, and so much more. Self-actualization means that the human resource that you're interfacing with, they're more happier, they're more healthy, they're more focused. There's so much of positive. They're more customer relation friendly. But don't let me talk too much on this. At the right time, we're gonna do that deep dive into all of this. But as a leader, you want to focus on self-actualization, and as a leader, you want to also create the environment where those around you are given a fair opportunity to reach their full potential. I want to be placed on record and saying that if you're a leader and you're not thinking about that, you got it wrong, completely wrong. And I'm going to take full responsibility for being placed on record as saying this. Now, I want to say a couple of things very quickly before I come across to Frank. And times fly so fast when you're having fun. Now, I promised to talk about habits and money. You can be wealthy. And I promise to look at 4 money habits that you need to learn, apply, and master. I'm just going to be quick about it because time wouldn't permit me to go deeper into it. Money habit 1, you want to invest as much time as possible to understand debt, equity, credit, creative financing, and hard money lending. These are all different types of money. So if you want to be wealthy and you don't understand money, you got a big challenge. So you need to build habits around here. And these are programs that we can help you with. All right. I'm going through this quickly. I'm doing a high level overview, but these are 4 money habits that you need to learn, apply, and master. The first one, take the time to understand money, debt, equity, credit, creative financing, and hard money lending. Second money habit, take the time to understand how to access each of these financial instruments. All right. Because I'm saying this because I've seen many persons trying to access debt, but then you have to reach a pre-qualification criteria. You may not have the pre-qualification criteria. So what is wrong with accessing trade lines where your trade line to access thousands of US dollars, you don't have to have that all the pre-qualification. You just need to have your SSN, a place of address, so they can identify who you are. And voila, within a couple of minutes, you're set to access capital and start to leverage capital in a smart way. I'm not going into all of the details today. I'm giving you a high level overview. Start investing your time to learn how to access capital. The third money habit, you want to commit time to really understand how to leverage capital. There's a concept that we call good debt and bad debt. When you get access to money, what do you do? Even when you earn your income, what do you do? Do you put it into good debt or bad debt? What do you do? So as you learn how to leverage money, you now have an elevated mindset because you're thinking, how can I take $1 and make it $10? How can I take $10 and make it $100? How can I take $100 and make it $10,000? And how can I take $10,000 and make it $1 million? We're talking about capital leverage. So you want to put yourself into this mindset of building the right habits around money. All right, you can do it. Get a mentor, get a coach, get a supportive community, get a sponsor, and we're here to give you all of that. The last one that I'm going to talk about, because when you're in business, you also need another money habit, which we call the ability to mitigate capital. The ability to mitigate capital means that you are in control of your debt terms. All right. APR don't have a hold on you. Debt life cycle don't have a hold on you. And it's not about having a short debt life cycle or a long debt life cycle. When you understand how to mitigate, you can leverage both of them to work to your advantage. The average person might say, if I reduce my debt life cycle, I'm reducing my debt cost. Yes. But when you do that, you have equity. If the equity is not working for you, what if you look at it in another way? I allow my APR to remain the way it is. I allow the debt life cycle to remain the way it is, but I take the excess liquidity instead of reducing the debt cost and the debt life cycle, I leverage the excess liquidity into income producing asset. Several things happen here. That income producing asset now pays down on that debt. And guess what else? It is giving you daily, weekly, monthly cash flow. All right. So there's a whole lot for us to unpack here. But in the interest of time and with fairness to my colleague, I'm going to pause it here and really trust that you take the time to learn these money habits and reach out to us in the event you need to learn more, because you can be great with wealth. You can do it. Frank, all to you, my friend.
Thanks. Um,
Welcome.
as I said before in closing, and I want to
Yes.
zoom in on that part with that talk with the mantra to motivate. I want to close with that because as a leader, you have to understand the power of your word and what words can do. And remember that the words that you speak can either motivate or demotivate, can either inspire or uninspire, can either capture hearts of people or kill people's dream. And remember, in all, we need to have a maximizing mantra. It's that word that you use for yourself. I had shared some of mine, which is row the boat and take that aim, but you can have your own. And so by speaking, you manifest whatever from the spirit into the natural. And I think that as you go ahead in your leadership, you want persons who on your team to be inspired. You want them to apart from being inspired, be motivated. That their morale will be heightened. You will be always in their hearts as a good leader. Remember that you're not perfect. Let them know. Be humble enough that I don't know everything. Admit you don't know all the answers. So be humble. Remember the mantra. Motivate and inspire others. Thanks, Gary.
Frank, you've left a powerful statement there. The word mantra, and as you mentioned that, it causes me to just think deep about some biblical thing, faith again. Faith is having that belief in things, not yet seen, not yet seen, but you have the faith that is going to manifest. It's so deep. It's so deep, and this comes a lot into the mindset. We need to have the right mindset. We need to have the right habits around mindset. But don't let me talk, because Frank, you open up it's so heavy. Control myself, the habits of self-control. Let me come to Peter for your closing remarks.
Yeah. It is there. So let me just work with that. The mantra, is something that can be used to develop self for the service of humanity, because the mantra, as you often mentioned, Gary, that we cannot rise above our sense of self. And if there's one thing that can be used to change the way how we see ourselves, is the mantra. Because as there are mindset. How do we break the ceilings that we place over ourselves? A mantra can be used to do that. Going back to taking care of the memory, because sometimes what has been dealt to us, where life is concerned, when we decide to take leadership out of that, there are certain things that you have to erase whatever is on the hard drive, the exposures that are placed on the hard drive. Sometimes you got to erase all of that based upon the exposures, the community that you were born in, society that you were born in, the family that you were born in, the mentality of that, those circumstances that you are within. The mantra can erase all of that and create for you a world that is totally different. And this is why the mind is such a powerful thing that we often waste, Because once we can begin to lead our minds and take control of our minds and discipline our minds, discipline our thoughts, discipline our memory, begin to scrub our memory of information that is not serving us. And we can use a mantra to do that by just saying, I am. Creating the concept of I don't care what somebody else or whoever else around me say that I am determining who I am. And when you use that mantra to repeat it to yourself long enough, life begins to take shape in what you have decided to become. So if we should just my closing words is to develop yourself for the use, for the greater service of humanity. And that in essence is what I believe leadership is. When you are developing yourself as a service for humanity, you're not focusing on outside, you're not making the simple more complex than what it ought to be, but you are now begin to look at the simplicity of the complexity of who we are as human beings. We are a corporate entity that is going to take a set of discipline to really bring each component of who we are. And we are saying today, start with your memory. Yes, pick up that mantra and write something about yourself. Rewrite your life in what you want it to become. And every year, and in the personal life master plan programs that we do, empower individuals to do, any great enterprise that is being taken, then it has to be broken down in what is going to be done today. What are we going to do today? But then you can't just work on today by itself. You have to work on today in correspondence with the bigger picture. And one way by which you can keep the bigger picture in mind is that you break the bigger picture down in terms of something that is going to keep you focused on the bigger picture, which a mantra can help you to do that. Because you are doing this action now based upon the larger vision of where you're going. So that mantra keep you, especially in times when things get tough and times when things get hard, and you feel as if you're never going to be able to make it, that mantra can pick you up out of those circumstances and keep you focused as you are working on those small elements that is going to make you that person that is a force to reckon with in the days to come.
All right, great share. And Frank, you open up something great here, a mantra. What I want to add to what you said is that people are defined by their mantra, knowingly or unknowingly.
Mm-hmm.
Knowingly or unknowingly. And perhaps we can dig deeper into this talking point, Frank, because let's take, for example, a man might go to a sweetie stand and he's quite comfortable with that because that's his mantra. That's his mantra. And perhaps that way of thinking is keeping him small. A new mantra is about now replacing that small thinking with what we're going to call now exceptional thinking. And Peter, you're right, because socialization to life is your mantra over it. And some people don't. Some people recognize that, hey, the mantra that I have been socialized to is not working for me. And there's something more out there. And I'm going to listen to faith that says that if I got faith as small as a mustard seed, and my faith is that I want to be great, I want to be big, and I'm going to build the right habits around that. And that becomes your mantra. It may take you some time because it's going to be called some heavy lifting. But guess what, my friend? When you have the right mentor, the right coach, the right support community around you, the right sponsors around you, we're going to help you to go fast track your process. We're going to help you to leapfrog those big dreams. And that's why we are here. So in closing, I want to say this, thank you for viewing this program from across the world. Remember to reach out to us. We are here to support your vision. We are here as humanitarian to serve you guys, men and women, to accomplish great things in life. Remember to like, subscribe, and share, so you will be the first to get these content that we bring into you on a regular basis. With that, I want to be saying shout out to you. Goodbye. And thanks to my team, Frank and Peter Scott, for being here today and making such significant contribution to the conversation. See you guys.
All right.